Hi everybody, Dan Illman here, taking a look at Best of Ohio Day at Thistledown, specifically the feature race, and that's the finale on the card, race number 10, the $100,000 Best of Ohio Governor's Buckeye Cup. It's a big field. It should be a fun betting race going the classic distance of 1.25 miles. Let's take a look at this field, and if you believe distance is the great determining factor in these longer distance races, look no further than the horse on the rail. The number 1 Forewarned has won 3 times at 1.25 miles. He is dropping in class off a couple of graded stakes races out of town, and he's just a very honest and likable Ohio bred. And his connections, they're going to be pleased with this Timeform US pace projector because that red bar scenario plays right into Forewarned's hooves. He likes to sit at the back of the pack. He likes to make one run from out of it. And if this pace is fast, and it should be quick up front, that would help the number 1 Forewarned. Let's talk a little bit more about this horse. He just missed in this race last year at 7-1, utilizing the late kick I talked about. Since then, he has won 3 stakes races, one at Mahoning Valley, the Endurance Cup, going 1.25 miles, couple of stakes races in New York going 1.125 miles, and he was just overmatched in his last 2 races, the Suburban and the Pimlico Special, 2 graded stakes races. Now, I was disappointed in his effort 3 starts back, the Native Dancer, a race that featured a wicked pace up front. I mean, there was a rabbit in there that helped the winner Rough Sea, and Forewarned just really didn't pick his feet up that afternoon, but he's been so consistent for most of his career. He fits this race from a class perspective beautifully. The pace should be to his advantage. Dexter Haddock likely going to have Forewarned rolling in the stretch. The 2 is Raven Moon. This is a horse who's won 4 of 9 starts, including his most recent race where he was placed first via disqualification. He needs to step it up, though, from a Beyer speed figure standpoint. This is going to be his stakes debut. His best Beyer coming in is a 63, and he's never raced past 1 mile, so he has a lot of questions to ask. He's going to be a big price on the tote. He's lightly raced enough that he does have some upside potential, but he likely is going to have to really run his A-plus race. The 3 is First Hand Justice, who raced in this race last year. He was 112-1. He kind of finished evenly to be a well-beaten 6th, and his recent form just isn't much to write home about. He finished last in his last 2 races. Now, both of those races were against open company, one at a distance way too short for him, 6 furlongs. But in the form he's in right now, he's hard to trust in a race like this. He does have back class. I'm not too concerned about the distance, especially considering the pace up front, but his recent form, though, concerns me. I need to see more from First Hand Justice. The 4 is Wolfine, and maybe this one will be a part of the pace, stretching out off of several sprint races. He's only routed once in his career. That was 1 mile last fall at Thistledown. He ran okay to finish second, beaten a neck at odds on, and that's kind of been the story of this horse's career. He's burnt a lot of money, beaten favorite in many of his races, but let's go back to his most recent start where he was the beaten favorite, going 3/4 of a mile at Thistledown. He'll finish second in here. He tries. He finishes ahead of a couple of next out winners. It was a productive race. But he's now stretching out in a situation where he's likely to face other pace horses, and he could get cooked going 1.25 miles. It's a big ask for a horse that's only finished off the board once in his career, and that was at Mahoning Valley. Other than that, he's done good work at Thistledown. Sammy's Smile is up next, and Sammy's Smile's coming into this race the right way. Case in point, this race, a first-level state-bred allowance at Thistledown on July the 21st. There was a pace in front of him. He came from way out of it. He just gets up late as the favorite. The 4th-place horse would come back to win with a 62 Beyer speed figure. Sammy's Smile was stakes placed in his 2 prior starts. I think he's versatile enough to handle the distance. He's looked good at 6. He's looked good at 1 1/8. And given the right pace setup, this horse is going to close. Now he just needs to improve on his top Beyer. A 65 earned going 1 1/8, 2 starts back. There are others in this race that are faster. Most notably, the number 6, Uptown, is coming off a win at Thistledown. A race we'll show you right now, going 1 mile and 70 yards over wet going, and he was very game to win this race at odds on. He was able to stay close to the pace. He grinded it down to win. His last 2 races have been the best from a Beyer speed figure standpoint, 75, 73. He really seems to be coming to hand. He ran okay in the Cleveland Gold Cup when they stretched him out to 1 1/8. He was ridden very aggressively that day and understandably tired. I think with the right situation, he can get the 1 1/4, and I think they're going to try to sit and finish as they've done in his last 2 races. This barn has sent out nothing but live horses at this meet. Coming in from Southern California off the claim is the number 7, Dark Vader. Let's watch his last race. This is a $40,000 optional at Del Mar on July the 24th. He had to break from post position 10 going 1 mile, and while this pace looks very, very hot, he was wired this day. The pace didn't come back to Dark Vader, who tried very hard to finish third, and this is a horse that just has a good amount of back class. He's competed in all sorts of graded stakes races in the country. He just missed in the Cornhusker, going 1 1/8 way back in 2019. It's been a long time since this horse has won a race of substance, as a stakes event or a race against even high-level allowance horses. He did win for $80,000 back in February, but I do like his tactical gear. It's interesting that he was claimed, likely with this race in mind. I think Dark Vader is very interesting, and I think he can get 1 1/4. He looked good in that 1 1/8 Cornhusker a couple of years ago. Wicked Warrior, dangerous early speed. It's all about whether he can get a little bit of a breather on the front end. Let's watch his last race, 1 1/70. Now, he wasn't able to make the lead at 1-5 in this race last year, and that hurt him. And maybe that just showed that he's at his best when he's on the lead, because he sat from off it and passed in the past. Here's his race going 1 1/70, went right to the front. He set a legitimate pace. He kept right on going, an 88 Beyer speed figure. That's what Wicked Warrior is when he gets the right setup. He is a classy and dependable gelding, and it's all about whether they leave him alone in the early portion of this race, or if he can sit off the pace if it's not blazing fast. But keep in mind, he did bomb in this race at a short price last year. Buckeye Magic's up next. Buckeye Magic, coming off about a 2-month layoff or so. Last time out, he was beaten by a couple of these. He just sort of saved ground and sucked along. This horse was a winner 3 starts back at Belterra. He won the green carpet over a wet track 5-back. He might be at his best on wet going. His running style, well, it plays well for this race because he is a true one-run closer that just doesn't have any sort of early speed. If the pace is fast, he's going to come with a kick. Over Ice is up next. And Over Ice, another just likable Ohio bred. It seems like he's been around forever. Third last time out in an allowance race behind I Wanna Win, who's also in here. I think he's going to get a better setup in this race. He has run very well at 1 1/4 in the past. 87 Beyer at 1 1/4. This is the kind of horse that is a wake-up candidate at a price, at least to maybe sneak into the single race exotics, because I don't think he liked the wet track last time out. I don't think he liked the race flow. He's going to get, if he gets fast going in here, he's likely going to get a fast pace. And he ran pretty well 2 starts back at a big price to get up for second. He's a closer to consider. The 11 is I Wanna Win, who won his last 2 races on dirt in blowout fashion at Thistledown. Giant performance 3-back. Throw out the race 2-back on the Tapeta surface at Presque Isle, and then got right to the front in this race where he was able to beat Over Ice. He just went right to the lead. He was able to back down the fractions, and he splashes on home to win by 8 lengths. He's hit the exact in 18 of 39 lifetime starts. That last race was an 86 Beyer speed figure. He was second from off the pace in this race in 2020, third from slightly off the pace in this race in 2021. It'll be interesting to see how they handle him. I don't think he has the speed of some of the others in here, like Wicked Warrior. Timeform US might disagree. I Wanna Win's going to be close to the pace turning into the stretch, and he's in very, very good form. He just must avoid an early pace battle. Team Hucky is up next. He's the number 12, and Team Hucky finished first last time out, going 6 furlongs. He came from off the pace that day in a 4-life. Now he's stretching all the way out, and this is a really big ask for a horse. A lot of times, these late-running sprinters aren't able to show the same pop when they're going longer distances, especially a distance like this, 1 1/4. A very likable veteran. He has 11 thirds in his career. A lot of minor awards on his record. Serve, Revenge, Cold Goes Turf to Dirt. Maybe that'll provide the wake-up spark that he needs, because his race 2 starts back against stakes horses at Belterra wasn't very good. He was 137 to 1 that day, and he just didn't fire. Another late runner hoping for a pace meltdown up front. It really is a fun race in here, and I respect Forewarned a great deal. I respect Wicked Warrior a great deal. I want to give Dark Vader a chance coming in from Southern California. The distance, a little bit of a question, but he ran so well at 1 1/8 a couple of years ago that I think he can get it with the right scenario. And he's got that sort of mid-pack running style that he's not a true one-run closer that might be completely dependent on pace and race luck. Maybe he'll get the jump on the true closers turning into the stretch. It's Best of Ohio Saturday at Thistledown.